Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this comforting expectation of precision.
Mm.
Like you break your arm, the X-ray shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points and says, "There it is."
Right, broken or not broken. It's a very clean, binary reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you step onto a golf course and suddenly that X-ray machine is just, well, it's shattered. You're looking at a diagnostic landscape that is incredibly murky.
Oh, absolutely. It is the definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Right, because you hit this terrible slice into the woods, and your playing partner immediately tells you to keep your head down.
Always the head down advice.
Always. Meanwhile, your brain is telling you to just aim further left next time. And maybe an article you read tells you to weaken your grip. We are dealing with an absolute overload of conflicting, feel-based information.
We really are. And the real danger there is that relying on pure feel or just looking at the ball flight to diagnose your swing is highly deceptive.
How so?
Well, a golfer can hit a seemingly acceptable shot with terrible technique, just as they can execute a mechanically sound swing but, catch a bad bounce or misjudge the wind. If you don't know the actual physical parameters of what the club is doing at the exact moment of impact, your feel will lie to you.
Wow. Okay. So welcome to today's deep dive. Because our mission today is to strip away all that guesswork. We're tossing out the old wives' tales and looking strictly at the hard science, the biomechanics, and the geometry behind hitting a golf ball effectively.
It's time to look at the real data.
Exactly. We're going to dig into a huge stack of launch monitor data, biomechanical reports, and practical kinematics from top PGA professionals to understand the actual physics of a swing. Okay, let's unpack this. Because this isn't just about telling you to keep your head down, and it's not just about writing a lower number on your scorecard.
No, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about physical longevity. When you fight your body's natural biomechanics with all this restrictive, outdated advice, you inevitably lead yourself down a path of back strain, joint pain, and long-term injuries. Building a swing based on proper geometry means building a swing that's mechanically sound and physically sustainable for decades.
I think every golfer listening to this right now knows the pain of the on-course quick fix. Like, you hit a massive slice out of bounds on the 12th hole, so you decide to just completely change your stance or aim 30 yards to the left.
Yeah, the classic overcorrection.
Right. And then the very next shot is a snap hook straight into the trees on the opposite side.
It's such a trap, and it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what actually causes the ball to curve. I mean, to stop guessing, we have to look at the geometry of impact.
Do we have the tech for that now?
Exactly. Launch monitors, like the eye track, use stereoscopic vision technology to measure this. They use a principle called parallax, which is actually exactly how human eyes work.
Really? Like 3D vision?
Yeah, precisely. By using multiple cameras from slightly different offset angles, the system triangulates the exact 3D motion of the club head in space at thousands of frames per second.
That is wild. And that triangulation gives us what the coaching manuals we read call the holy trinity of impact data. That's club path, face angle, and attack angle.
The big three.
The big three. So I want to break these down so we can actually understand the physics here.
Yeah.
What is the fundamental distinction between the face and the path?
So face angle is simply the direction your club face is pointing at the exact microsecond it compresses the golf ball.
Okay.
And the club path is the direction the center of mass of the club head is moving through the impact zone, whether it's swinging from the inside out or the outside in.
Right.
So the fundamental rule of golf geometry here is that the face angle dictates the initial starting direction of the ball, while the relationship of the face to the path dictates how the ball curves in the air.
Okay, I am trying to visualize this because my brain is actively fighting the traditional logic right now.
Yeah.
Wait, so if I want to hit a draw like a shot that curves from right to left, I don't just aim everything further left.
No. If you close your stance and close the club face at address, the ball will start left and curve further left.
The dreaded pull hook.
Exactly. You've just hit a pull hook. To hit a proper draw, you need to set up what instructors call a shotgun.
A shot cone, okay.
Yeah. Let's use a clock face to visualize this. Imagine your target line is pointing dead at 12 o'clock. To hit a draw, your club path needs to be swinging out toward 1 o'clock.
Okay, so the path is moving away from the body out to the right. Where does the face need to point?
The club face needs to be pointing at 12:30.
Wait, let me unpack that. The face is at 12:30 and the path is at 1. So the face is technically closed relative to the path.
Yes, because 12:30 is to the left of 1 o'clock. The face is closed relative to the path. That closed relationship is what imparts the right to left spin axis on the golf ball.
Right, okay.
But And this is the part that confuses so many players. Because 12:30 is still to the right of our 12 o'clock target line, the face is actually open to the target.
That is a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's almost like bowling with the bumpers up.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like the 12 o'clock target line is your left bumper. The 1 o'clock path is the right bumper. You're essentially banking the ball off that right bumper with the club face, and the spin curves it back toward the middle of the lane.
That is a brilliant way to picture it, yeah. You must start the ball to the right of the target to give it room to draw back. And once you grasp that horizontal geometry, you have to factor in the vertical physics.
Ah, the third part of the Trinity. Attack angle.
Right. The vertical angle the club is traveling relative to the ground at impact.
Got it.
So for a driver, to maximize distance, you need a positive attack angle. The club head must be traveling upward when it strikes the ball.
Hitting up on it.
Exactly. But for your irons, you need a negative attack angle, usually around 4 to 6 degrees downwards. So you trap the ball against the turf, striking the ball first and then taking a divot.
Which brings up something in our research stack that honestly blew my mind regarding launch angle. Because basic high school physics tells us that if you want to launch a projectile for maximum distance, you fire it at a 45-degree angle.
Right, the classic physics problem.
But the launch monitor data shows optimal driver launch angles are somewhere around like 12 to 15 degrees. Why does basic physics fail us here?
Well, basic physics equations for projectiles usually happen in a vacuum, right? They ignore aerodynamics. A golf ball has dimples, and it spins.
Right, the spin.
Yeah. As the ball flies through the air with backspin, it creates an aerodynamic phenomenon called the Magnus effect. The spin grabs the air, creating higher pressure under the ball and lower pressure above it, which generates lift. So if you launched a spinning golf ball at 45 degrees, that lift would cause it to balloon straight up into the sky and drop straight down. It completely kills your distance.
So we actually need a lower launch angle to let the spin do the heavy lifting for us. And the data shows that your attack angle only contributes a tiny fraction to that actual launch angle. The real driving force is something called dynamic loft.
Yes. Dynamic loft is the actual physical loft of the club face at the microsecond of compression.
As opposed to the loft stamped on the club.
Exactly. You might buy a driver with 10 degrees of loft stamped on the bottom, but depending on how you lean the shaft or, flex your wrists at impact, you might be delivering 14 degrees or maybe 7 degrees of loft to the ball.
That's a huge variance.
It is. That dynamic loft actually contributes between 63 and 83% of your starting launch angle, completely overriding your attack angle.
Which means we can't just buy a new club to fix our launch conditions. I mean, we have to change how we deliver the club head. And when you do optimize those conditions, the speed metrics are staggering. The data shows that just 1 extra mile per hour of club head speed translates to up to 3 yards of driver distance.
3 yards, that's significant.
Right, and 1 mile per hour ball speed equals 2 yards.
And we certainly don't want to lose that speed by fighting our own bodies, which is exactly what happens when players try to artificially manipulate their impact positions.
That is the perfect pivot right there. Because the physics of impact don't just happen in a vacuum. Everything we just talked about, the shot cone, the dynamic loft, it is largely predetermined before the club even moves.
Setup dictates motion.
Exactly. I was reading through the biomechanical reports we pulled for this deep dive, and there's this fascinating connection between the eyes and the shoulders. The coaching manuals refer to the eyes as mini shoulders.
Oh, this concept changes everything for players who struggle with setup. So inside your inner ear, you have the vestibular system. It's this complex network of fluid-filled canals that basically acts as your body's internal gyroscope. It constantly detects the position of your head and subconsciously aligns your entire skeletal system to your visual horizon to keep you balanced.
Meaning, whatever angle your eyes are on, your brain will literally force your shoulders to duplicate that exact angle. You don't even know you're doing it.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
If you tilt your head so your right eye is lower than your left eye, your vestibular system detects that the horizon is tilted. To prevent you from falling over, it automatically drops your right shoulder to match that tilt.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we apply this to the driver where we just established we need an upward attack angle, we need that trail shoulder lower so we can swing up on the ball, which means we actually need our right eye positioned lower than our left eye at setup, assuming a right-handed golfer.
Precisely. By simply tilting your head slightly away from the target, so your trail eye is lower, you preset your body's geometry. Your spine tilts away from the target, your trail shoulder drops, and you are perfectly positioned to deliver that positive upward strike from the inside.
And one of the manuals gave a great practical tip for checking this. Use the brim of your hat.
Oh, yeah, the hat trick.
Yeah. If you're setting up for a driver, you should be able to see that your hat brim is tilted slightly upward. But for the short game, where we need a descending blow with our wedges, it's the exact opposite.
Right. For a chip shot, your eye line must be perfectly level with the ground. If you tilt your head back on a wedge shot, your trail shoulder drops, your low point moves behind the golf ball, and you will inevitably scoop it, hitting the ground first.
Chunking it.
Exactly. Level eyes create level shoulders, which naturally promotes that crisp downward strike.
It's just wild how much the brain is secretly controlling our mechanics. And the setup geometry applies directly to the feet as well. Full Golf Academy has a great breakdown of stance geometry. So a square stance is the baseline. Your toes, hips, and shoulders are parallel to the target line.
Right, and then an open stance is where you pull your lead foot back, aiming your body to the left of the target. This clears your lead hip out of the way before you even swing, which naturally encourages the club to travel leftward through impact. It's ideal for hitting fades and managing delicate wedge shots.
And a closed stance, where you drop the trail foot back, aims the body to the right. This creates physical space for the arms to drop inside, encouraging that 1 o'clock club path we need for a draw. But wait, if a closed stance helps hit a draw, why do instructors caution against using it as an on-course fix for a slice?
Because a static stance change doesn't fix dynamic movement patterns, it's a dangerous band-aid.
Okay, break that down for me.
Let's trace the physical chain reaction. A player slices the ball so that they drop their right foot back a few inches. On the backswing, this feels great. The club travels easily to the inside. But on the downswing, that dropped back foot creates a physical blockade for the pelvis.
Oh, I see. The hips literally cannot rotate toward the target. They're trapped.
Exactly. Your lower body hits a brick wall, but your club is still moving at 90 miles an hour. Since the hips have stopped, the thoracic spine tries to take over, putting massive, dangerous shear force on the lower back.
Yikes.
Right. And to get the club to the ball, your upper body has to lunge forward, and your arms have no choice but to throw the club head over the top of the plane.
So by dropping the foot back to fix the slice, you are quite literally forcing your body to execute the exact steep, over-the-top motion that causes a slice in the first place. You're cementing the flaw.
It is a complete biomechanical trap. Another setup error that causes that same wipey, over-the-top path happens with the shoulders. Think about how you grip a golf club. For a right-handed player, the right hand must sit a few inches lower on the grip than the left hand.
Right, which naturally pulls the right shoulder forward and down.
Yes. And if that trail shoulder rolls forward at address, your shoulder line is now pointing left of your target, even if your feet are perfectly square.
Wow.
During the transition from backswing to downswing, that open trail shoulder is going to fire high and out toward the ball. It sends the club down on a steep out-to-in path. You have to consciously organize your shoulder blades at setup, pulling that right shoulder back slightly so it's squared to your foot line.
Is that upper body takeover why so many players try to lock their lead arm completely straight? Like to somehow muscle the club and control that chaos?
That is one of the most destructive myths in the game. The idea of the rigid, locked, straight left arm.
I love the analogy one of our experts used for this. They called it the cooked spaghetti arm.
Cooked spaghetti.
Yeah, because when you lock your arm straight, it becomes rigid. But the club head is at the end of a 40-inch steel shaft. It has a significantly longer circumference to travel than your hams do.
Think of a heavy pendant on the end of a silver chain. If you yank the top of the chain hard and fast, the pendant gets left behind, trailing wildly. That's what happens when you lock your arm and pull down forcefully. Your hands beat the club head to the ball every single time, leaving the club face wide open.
So the arm is just the chain.
The arm needs to be relaxed, like cooked spaghetti. It maintains its structure through the centrifugal force of the swing, not through muscular tension. By keeping the arm relaxed, you allow the weight of the club head to swing freely, catching up to your hands so the face can naturally square itself through impact.
A relaxed body moves faster than a tense body, which leads us perfectly into the practical coaching insights regarding mobility. We have some brilliant notes here from Todd Kolb, specifically for amateurs and senior golfers who maybe don't possess the spinal flexibility of a 20-year-old tour professional.
Well, there's this old school concept of building coil by locking the lower body in place and twisting the upper body against it as far as possible.
Which, again, sounds like a fast track to a slipped lumbar disc.
Oh, it creates immense torque on the spine. If you don't have elite flexibility, restricting your hip rotation completely strangles your ability to turn your shoulders. Hold advises doing the exact opposite.
Okay, what's the move?
On the backswing, allow your trail knee to lose some of its flex and straighten slightly, while your lead knee bends toward the golf ball.
So this frees up the pelvis to rotate backward.
It creates massive depth in the hips. And because the hips turn deeply, the shoulders are free to turn fully without straining the lower back. It generates effortless power and significantly improves your rhythm.
Here's a checkpoint for this, right?
Yeah, a great way to check this on video is to look at your knees from a down-the-line angle. At the top of your backswing, there should be a visible gap of daylight between your knees. If there's no gap, your hips haven't rotated.
That's a great visual. Let's give the listener another highly practical routine they can take straight to the driving range regarding ball position. We established earlier that the low point of the swing arc is critical for attack angle.
Right. And the low point of the golf swing naturally occurs straight down from the lead shoulder. To ensure you hit the ball cleanly every time, you need a routine that references that lead side.
So how do we do that?
Start every single shot with your feet completely together and the golf ball perfectly centered between them. Then, take your lead foot and step exactly 3 inches forward toward the target.
Wait, always 3 inches, no matter the club.
Always 3 inches. Then, you simply move your back foot backward to whatever width matches the club you're holding. A tiny step back for a wedge, a wider step back for a 7-iron. Because that lead foot only ever moved 3 inches, the ball position relative to your lead shoulder remains perfectly consistent.
Okay, but how does that change for the driver since we need to hit up on the ball?
For the driver, you keep the lead foot completely stationary. You do not take that 3-inch step forward. You only take a large step back with your trail foot. This ensures the ball is positioned aggressively forward, right off the inside of your lead heel, guaranteeing that the club reaches its low point and begins traveling upward before it meets the ball.
That routine eliminates so many variables. Now, what about players who struggle to feel that in-to-out path for a draw? We looked at a drill from Jim Roy involving pulling the right foot back.
Yes, and we need to clarify up front that this is strictly a practice drill for the driving range, not a permanent stance for the course, due to that hip restriction we discussed earlier.
Right, no Band-Aids.
Exactly. So you tee up a ball with an 8-iron, pull your right foot back until your right toe is even with your left heel. This closed setup gives you the exaggerated physical sensation of approaching the ball from the inside.
But the magic of the drill is in how you shift your weight, isn't it?
It is. The stance is just the framework. The kinematics are what really matter. You practice shifting your weight from your right heel on the backswing, straight across on a diagonal line to your left toe on the downswing.
Diagonal.
Yes. That specific diagonal pressure shift forces the club to drop onto a shallow inside path. It physically prevents you from coming over the top.
That is incredibly practical. We also need to touch on course management real quick, specifically regarding slopes. Hitting off uneven lies is just a nightmare for most players because they constantly try to fight the terrain.
And gravity always wins. The absolute golden rule of hitting off a slope is that the golf course dictates your setup. You must match your shoulder plane to the exact slope of the hill.
So if you are standing on a steep downhill lie, your lead shoulder has to be significantly lower than your trail shoulder.
You have to swing parallel to the earth you are standing on. If you're on a downhill lie and you try to lean back to scoop the ball into the air, your club will crash into the hill a foot behind the ball. By tilting your shoulders to match the slope, the club sweeps down the hill smoothly. You just have to accept that the ball will launch much lower.
So what does this all mean? Let's distill these insights down for you, the listener. If we synthesize everything we've covered today, we basically get 3 core pillars. Number 1, the geometry of impact is absolute. Your club face controls the starting direction, and the path controls the curve.
Absolutely.
Number 2, your setup, specifically the subtle angles of your eye line and your shoulder blades, subconsciously programs the physical path your downswing will take before you even pull the club back.
Right.
And number 3, natural hip rotation, allowing the knees to change flex, is the engine for effortless power and the absolute key to protecting your lower back.
What's fascinating here is if we look at where the industry is heading with all this data, it's a massive shift. Using integrated systems like Case Vision and eye track, the coaching world is completely moving away from subjective guessing.
Yeah, no more just feel it.
Exactly. We are entering an era of instant objective feedback driven by AI, motion capture, and augmented reality.
Our sources highlighted the iSwing Mirror app and the iPut system. How do those actually change the way a golfer practices day to day?
Well, they allow a player to measure invisible variables, like the exact closure rate of the club face. Closure rate is essentially how fast the toe of the club is rotating past the heel as it moves through the hitting zone, usually measured in degrees per second. A typical amateur might have a closure rate of 3,600 degrees per second.
3,600? That sounds incredibly fast.
It is so fast that the window for the club face to actually be square to the target is measured in microseconds. If their timing is off by a fraction of a second, they hit a 30-yard hook or a massive block. But by measuring closure rate and dynamic loft instantly with an app, a golfer stops overcorrecting based on one bad bounce. They can actually train their hands to slow down that rotation, stabilizing the club face and widening their margin for error. They're fixing the root physical cause rather than chasing the symptom.
And that brings all of this, the launch monitor data, the vestibular system, the biomechanical drills, into one cohesive reality. A great golf swing isn't about rigid, unnatural restriction. It's not about keeping your head perfectly still or locking your arms like iron bars. It's simply about organizing your body intelligently at setup so it can move athletically, rotate freely, and deliver the club face geometrically square to your intended path.
I'll leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over before your next trip to the driving range. What if your absolute worst, most frustrating shots aren't actually swing flaws at all? What if your brain and your body are flawlessly executing the physical instructions you unknowingly gave them through a tilted eye line, an open shoulder, or a misaligned stance?
That is a terrifying, yet incredibly empowering thought. The swing motion itself might be mathematically perfect. The initial setup geometry was just a disaster. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and share it with fellow golfers, coaches, and PGA professionals. If there is a topic you would like us to research, analyze, and discuss in a future episode, feel free to send us an email or connect with us through LinkedIn. Whether your interest is golf biomechanics, kinematics, ground reaction forces, swing mechanics, putting, coaching, club fitting technology, or sports science, we would love to hear from you. Our team will review your submission, conduct extensive research, analyze the available evidence, and may create a dedicated podcast episode, article, video, or testing project based on your topic. Thank you for being part of the eCoach 360 Degree community.